and he is going to share with us the topic, if you are not scared, you are doing it wrong. So Eric, take her away.
All right, thank you very much. Can you guys hear me? Is the mic on? No? Flip it up. I failed the first.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, oh, wow. Okay. Hi there, my name is Eric Miller, and welcome to Startup Week. I thank you all for coming, and just bring yourselves in and find a spot. So, the whole point of this technology not working.
Oh. Mechanical engineer, right?
Okay, now. Hey, I'm a mechanical engineer. So, my talk today is if you're not scared, you're doing it wrong. And the whole reason is that successful entrepreneurs take risks. Oops, I am clicking in the wrong direction. I'll get this by the end, right? So, the whole point of my talk is that, who here is doing a startup or thinking about doing a startup? Yeah. Hopefully most of you, yes, yes. So it's hard, right? It's really hard. You hear all the statistics, 1 in 10 fails. You're gonna have to mortgage your house. It's a really difficult process. So that's just starting a startup. Being a success in a startup is even more difficult. So you got it going, now you actually have to grow it, be successful, get acquired, become a lifestyle business, all that stuff. It's really, really difficult. Most people really struggle with it. So the idea is that you have to push yourself. You got to get to the top of those stairs. You can't just kind of wait for business to come to you, right? If you don't push, if you don't really make yourself go further, you're going to fail. That everything is allied against you. This is really hard, like I said. So you're going to fail. And if you're not afraid, if you don't feel fear in the morning, if you don't go into a meeting and feel like, oh my God, this is going to be really hard, then I feel you're not pushing hard enough. You're not really trying hard enough. You should be pushing yourself to that fear. And that's it. That's my talk. Thank you for coming. We got about 20 minutes to, that's basically the theme of what I'm talking about, right? It's really simple. And I wanted to do this to kind of highlight to you guys how simple this concept is. Fear is a tool. Fear tells you you're pushing hard enough. And I'm going to go into more depth about myself, a little bit about, more in depth about kind of how this feels and how to look at it. I'll give you some examples, and I'll give you some tools as well to use and manage your fear. And I will learn how to use this device by the end. So my name's, I went too far. My name's Eric Miller. I put up the Star Trek myself in Captain Kirk's chair at the Seattle Science Fiction Museum because I wanted street cred. Back in the day when we did entrepreneurship and technology, we were nerds. I'm a nerd. I love Star Trek. This is my philosophical background right there. So I was an Air Force brat. I traveled around the world. Went to UC Berkeley, graduated in '86 with a degree in mechanical engineering. Came out here because I was going to save money so I could rent an apartment by myself in the Bay Area 32 years ago. Still saving money for that apartment. Still haven't gone back. About 24 years ago, we started a company called PADT, which I'll talk about next. And what I do now is a lot of mechanical engineering. My specialty, if anybody cares, is the use of software to automate finite element analysis processes. Really exciting stuff. But what I do most of the time is HR. I do a lot of marketing. I do a lot of speaking, and I do a lot of just promoting our company and a lot of listening to employees. So we weren't a startup because nobody had that term in 1994. But yeah, it was 3 guys. We left a company. We started a company. What is that company? We're called PADT, and what we do is we make innovation work. We work with companies who make physical products by either selling them the tools they need to do their products, or to make their products, or we do consulting to help them do that. So if you've got a physical product, most of our companies are large multinationals, like Lockheed will come to us and say, we need a fuel cell, hydrogen fuel cell for this new drone we're making. And we'll design this, $2 million, hopefully, project to design a fuel cell. Or you may be Sphero Robots, a customer, right? The little robots that run around the floor. So they come to us and say, our robots are breaking. Why are they breaking? We help them figure that out. So we're about 90 engineers and salespeople now, based in Tempe, with offices across the whole Southwest. Like I said, we've been in business for 24 years, and our slogan is, we make innovation work. So let's get back to our topic. The commercial's over. Fear should be a tool, right? That's the whole concept of what I'm saying. You should be looking at the way you feel when you're doing things. How I'm about to go meet with a potential investor, or I'm going to go talk to my team about the fact that we're kind of behind on the schedule. And if you don't feel that kind of gut fear, you're probably not. You should be asking yourself, am I feeling that gut fear, and what can I do with that? And I found this quote on the internet. It was a meme that was going around a couple weeks ago, and it says, "Comfort is the enemy of achievement." I'm sorry the screen's so small, but it says, "Comfort is the enemy of achievement" by a guy named Farag Ray. And I really thought that was, I was thinking of what I was going to talk about, and I thought, my God, that's my speech right there, right? Comfort is really the problem. Fear is our indication that we're not comfortable, right? How does our body know we're not comfortable? Well, we're in fear. And I'm going to talk a lot about this couch because I like couches. I've been watching the Olympics a lot, spent a lot of time on the couch recently. It's really comfortable on a couch. There aren't a lot of successful entrepreneurs that spend a lot of time on a couch. Maybe after they sell, but they're not doing it now. So think about that. And the other thing I want to point out about this quote, kind of a side topic, is comfort is the enemy of achievement. I thought, wow, that's great. You know, that must be some 18th century or 19th century British philosopher, or something like that. No, this guy came up with this quote in 2006 or something like that. He was an entrepreneur that grew up in an underprivileged neighborhood, became a millionaire before he was out of his teens, and he's a motivational speaker now. So you can come up with quotes that become memes even in this modern day and age. So do remember that. There's still hope. So the other quote that I really based this talk on is one of my heroes from when I used to follow racing, Mario Andretti. And he says, if everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough. So does anybody here ever race or even go-karts and stuff like that? You know that you've got to go fast enough to where you're about to break loose, right? You're just about to lose control. Otherwise, you're going to lose. And the same is true in a startup. If you're not going fast, if you are under control, if everything's fine, you go to the office in the morning, you're like, wow, nobody's upset, customers are happy, numbers are okay, you're probably not pushing hard enough. You're not doing enough. And we're going to talk more about that. So what we want, though, is this emotional indicator is the idea of fear. I want to be afraid, right? What I don't want to be is terrified, right? Who can name the movie from that? Psycho, thank you. So I don't want to be in terror, right? I want to have a little bit of fear. I want to have a little bit of an uneasiness in my stomach because I still want to function. I still want to get things done. And I want to be motivated. I want to use this fear as a way to get up in the morning and get things done. What I don't want to do is be frozen, right? Because sometimes if you're in a business, you're like, I'm paralyzed. I can't make a decision. I don't know what to do. You don't want to go to that point. And you don't want to run and hide. That's the other thing that can happen if you let this idea of fear push you to terror. So we don't want that at all. So what we're talking about is really pushing yourself with purpose. We're talking about, let's just take I've been talking about yourself. Let's talk about your team, right? So you also need to push your team with purpose. You can't just go in and say, you guys, we're not selling enough. You need to get out there and push this product. We were supposed to be, our investors are mad at us. That doesn't do any good. What does good is if we don't make this milestone, we're not going to get our next tranche of funding. That's healthy fear, right? We're going to lose our funding if we don't make this next tranche. So you want to definitely look at what the purpose is of what you're pushing yourself towards and have some sort of a goal set up and a reason for motivating yourself in that direction. And then the other thing that is really, really good along this whole topic is the idea of asking questions that cause you to have fear. So one of the things that happens to me is I don't like sales. I don't like asking for things, right? So I have these salespeople, and sometimes they'll drag me into the room, and we're going to make some cold calls. And they'll call these customers literally out of the blue. They have no idea who they are, and start selling our products to them. And my palms are sweating. I feel so uncomfortable. And they go, this is Eric, one of our owners, and he's gonna talk to you. And I've got to ask for the order. I've got to say, can we have a meeting? Can we get together with you and talk about what your real needs are? Does this product seem of interest to you? Our service is something you want? That terrifies me to do that. But if I don't ask that question, right, that's telling me that I probably need to push myself a little bit harder. If I back away, nothing's going to happen. But if I push myself, then I'm going to get that meeting, and they're gonna buy from us probably. So I really like asking these fear-inducing questions. So if you're in a room with somebody and everything's going smoothly, are you asking difficult enough questions? That's a really good thing to think about. So I'm going to talk about two examples here of fear-inducing questions. And the first one is Nancy in the senior ball. This is a personal story of when I was in high school. This is C.K. McClatchy High School in Sacramento, California. Anybody from Sacramento? No? Darn. Land Park, woo. No. So I know this is hard to believe, but I didn't date a lot in high school. It didn't happen a lot. I was on the math team. I was in the computer club. I admit that. So I had a lot of friends that were girls, but I didn't date a lot. And there was this one girl. The story actually doesn't start with Nancy. It starts with Tally. So I had a crush on Tally for a long time. And I wanted to take her to senior ball. I hadn't been to any balls through the whole school year. 2 school years. Went to school for 2 years. Didn't go to any dances. I'm going to ask Tally. Tally's the most beautiful girl in the school. She's smart. She's funny. So she drives a cool car. I'm going to take her to senior ball. And so every day I'd walk past her locker and almost ask her to the dance. Every day. And then finally one day I'm walking up there and my friend Carl goes, "Why do you walk by here every day? Your class isn't in this direction." I go, "Because I'm going to ask Tally to senior ball." And she goes, "Well, then just ask her." So this is a week before the dance. So I ask her, and she goes, "Yeah, I'd love to go. That's great. Here's my number. Call me tonight. We'll make arrangements." I'm like, why did I wait so long? I asked this fear-inducing question, and here I am, this nerd guy on the speech and debate team, math club. I'm going to dance with a cheerleader. And I was really happy, and I called her that night, and she goes, "I really wanted you to ask me. I was really happy you did, but I already said yes to Bill, like 3 weeks ago." Bill was the captain of the basketball team. Bill was very good looking. Bill was tall. Bill actually dated girls before. So Tally's like, "We can go out after, but no, I'm not. I can't. I already said nice." And I understood. She said yes to Bill. That's not fair. I still hate him, but it's okay. So I was really upset. The next night, this is back in the old days when you have to actually hold a phone to your head and dial the numbers and stuff. So I call my friend Nancy. I go, "Nancy, I know you just broke up with your boyfriend, and I'm really sad because Tally said yes, and then she said no." And then I thought, I'm going to go with Nancy. So I asked Nancy to senior ball. Nancy was a good friend. We got along great. We had a wonderful evening at the senior ball. This is Nancy and I at the senior ball. We made it in the yearbook. It was such a good picture. Yes, we were the only couple that made it. She got that perm the night before the dance. That surprised me. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and it was because I had the courage to ask Tally out, finally, and then I had the courage to ask Nancy out, that I had a great time, and I never had a problem after that. I had gotten over that hump, right? I pushed myself to my limits, and I asked these girls to dance, and I went to many more dances, and Nancy and I are still friends today, and I haven't heard from Tally in a long time. So, let's talk about work. So one of the things that I do here, and I got my backpack with the logo on it somewhere over here, is we're a distributor for a piece of software called ANSYS. It's a $1 billion company. They do $1 billion in revenue every year. They sell simulation software. This is what I do. This is the nerd thing that I do, which is build these virtual models of physical products. And back when we started the company, we used it as a tool, but we weren't really involved in the sale of it. And the distributor that covered Arizona out of California, fortunately or unfortunately, got into some legal problems, and they were fired. And so there was nobody to sell in the Southwest. So we were like, oh, we really want to do this. Our company's foundation could be selling this product. We're 3, 4, at the time they were 4 mechanical engineers, no sales experience, no understanding, never gotten on a plane, flown to somebody and pitched to them. It was totally foreign to us, right? We were cubicle monkeys. We sat in front of computers all day long. That's what we did. We started a company and sat in front of computers all day long. So we were really excited about this, but we were really afraid. And at one point we said, well, that's probably a good thing, right? We need to challenge ourselves. We need to push this fear. If we're going to be successful, we have to confront the fear and address it. So we wrote a business plan. We got on a plane. We flew to Pittsburgh. We presented. We're now the distributor for ANSYS across the entire southwestern United States. We do close to $13, $14 million in revenue just from selling this product. We have several hundred customers from the large, like Honeywell Aerospace down to little startups. This is the foundation of our business because we had the courage. We looked at our fear and we said, this is telling us we need to get up and do something. And we got on a plane and we flew to Pittsburgh and we were terrified, meeting the CEO for the first time, and he was kind of a jerk. He was kind of, why are you here? He actually said that, why are you here? We're like, we think we should sell ANSYS in the Southwest, in Arizona. And we held it together, we pitched it, we did well in Arizona, and now we just got Texas this year, and we're really excited and hope to grow more. So we asked that difficult question, we asked that fear-inducing question, and we got what we wanted. So you don't want to be completely reckless, right? We talked about being under control, but you have to take calculated risks. So, again, back to the racing analogies, is, if you just get in there and put the accelerator down and don't slow down for the turns, you're going to go into the wall. So you got to understand what you're doing. You got to understand your business. You got to understand your partners, and you got to take some calculated risks. And I'm going to give 2 examples of that. The first is a service we started about 4 years ago called Cores on Demand. So in our space, the simulation side of things, we build these huge finite element models, these gigantic matrices basically, and we solve them across thousands of computers. So we're the guys that use the big computers in the national labs and stuff like that. So there's a big push to move that computation off the desktop into the cloud. Every other industry has done it. Ours hasn't for a lot of technical reasons that we can go into afterwards, but it's really hard to do right for the kind of software we run. So we figured, Amazon had failed at it, Google had failed at it, Microsoft was trying and not doing very well with it. We thought, we're smarter than those guys. We can do this. So we created something called Cores on Demand. And I really feel comfortable that we understood the market better than anybody else. We were taking a calculated risk, right? We figured out how much money we could spend on it, how much money we could afford to lose if it didn't work, and we went for it. And we tried really hard. We marketed it really well. We got a lot of really good feedback from the market. All the engineers were like, oh, this is exactly what I need. This is exactly what I want. And it failed miserably. For a lot of reasons, most of them have to do with how the licensing works for the software. It was really difficult to get a license and pay for a license, the way it's just set up from a legal and financial standpoint. And we tried, and no one else has been really successful at it. There's one company that's getting close right now, but the licensing changed. But we took that calculated risk, and we failed. But we lost the amount of money we set aside to lose, right? We sat down and we said, okay, this is scary. No one's been able to do this before. We're going to put aside about $500K, and we're going to write that off if it doesn't work. And I wrote off $500K. So that's just what you have to do sometimes. You have to take those calculated risks. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it does. Support cleaning apparatus. This is getting into the weeds of 3D printing, but when parts come out of 3D printers, they're covered with this support material, and the support material is certain technologies. It's water soluble. And so we came up with a device. Well, we looked in the market, and there was really no way to get that stuff off, right? People were buying other devices from other industries, putting the parts in there, and the parts were getting damaged. It's taking too long, it was expensive. So we took another calculated risk. We looked at the market and said, we know mechanical engineering, we know fluid dynamics, and we know 3D printing. So we can do a support cleaning system that no one else has been able to do. Everybody else has kind of failed at it. And we did the same thing. We set aside a certain amount of money. We researched the market. We got our input from our customers. And we designed and built, this is our 3rd unit now that we've done. So it's been a huge success. We've sold, I think, $17 million of systems that we've sold over the years, and we're 7 million units, 7 million, I wish, 7,000 units shipped. And so it's a niche market, but they're very expensive systems, so we do really well. This is one of our most profitable business lines. Did it the same way as the Cores on Demand, right? We looked at what what was a need in the market. We felt that anxiety, this is gonna be really hard, because if we didn't try hard stuff, it would have already been done. So this has been a very, very lucrative part of our business. So that's the second example of using fear to kind of motivate ourselves. So it's about right on the edge, but not on a tightrope, right? I'm not a big believer, a lot of presentations, right, you got the guy on the tightrope, and he's walking across, it's like, oh, he's taking this. The problem with the tightrope is you fall off, you're dead, right? I'm not advocating that. I'm advocating clip yourself in. I'm afraid of heights, so this terrifies me. So you clip yourself in, but you walk along the ledge there. And you take risks, and you push yourself, but don't fall off. Don't do something that's stupid so you're going to fall off. It's really, really critical. So the 2 examples that I gave where we started new businesses, one of them failed, one of them was successful. But at no point were we risking the company. At no point were we betting everything. But they both were risky. One paid off quite well. The other thing is you need to choose fight over flight, right? So when you're feeling scared, you're going to have to go ask for money. You're going to have to go fire an employee. Like, one of the hardest things to do as a startup is firing that first employee, right? It sucks. You got to fire them. They suck. They're screwing up your company. You got to get rid of them. But it's terrifying. And what I want to do is I want to run. I want to go run and hide. but you got to stand up and you got to fight. You got to go in and fire that employee, right? So you got to face those fears and don't run away. So let's talk about ways to bring fear into your life, right? So if you're sitting on that couch and you're all comfortable and you're watching rom-coms, you're doing it wrong, right? You need to get up and feel some fear out there. So one of the things I do, I'm not a really social person. I'm sorry, but I don't really like meeting new people. It scares me. So what I do, this is me a couple weeks ago at the Science Center. It was a big gala for the Arizona Science Center, and I'm on the board of the Arizona Technology Council, and they invited me to come. And I sat at a table, and I know about half the people at the table, but the other people I didn't know any of the people around me. And so every time I go someplace, I try to meet someone new. And I really recommend this for people, unless you're a salesperson who just automatically introduces yourself to folks. It's a really good way to push yourself and to face your fears, if that's an anxiety. And it's good for business as well. So I have a rule that I always meet 3 people everywhere I go. So if I go out, even if I went out, my birthday was this weekend, I went out downtown Phoenix, we were crawling around, and I met 3 people, just at random places as we went around downtown. And so I always try and do that. So I'm gonna pick on you. Say, my name's Eric.
Eric, I'm Jamie.
Jamie, what brings you to Startup Week?
I'm looking to learn a little bit about starting a company. This is the first company I've started in a long time. Spent 18 years in corporate America, and looking to grow a company, raise some funding, and find some resources, meet some new people. So
that's actually really good, and I feel a connection with you now, right? So we shared in front of everybody. But we also, I now know a lot about him. He did really good because he told me what he was looking for, and I would say to him, I'm actually an angel investor. I'm actually on the screening committee for Arizona Technology Investors. Have you thought about applying to ATI? These are sort of things that kind of happen when you push yourself to go out there. And I may have just got him $20 million worth of funding. Who knows? But probably not.
I'll take 10.
Okay, you'll take 10. Okay. What percentage? What's your valuation? No. So I went to this event. It was really awkward for me, and there was a Pompeii exhibit. I love Roman history, so I wanted to just hide in the back. But I went out and I socialized. I forced myself to do that. And I made 2 really good business contacts at that event. So I highly recommend that people do this unless you're natural at it. Another thing is more about understanding your comfort level, right? So what is your fear versus terror transition? What do you feel comfortable with? So you may be comfortable with going out and meeting new people. That may be, so you shouldn't really focus on that. Maybe your fear is of rejection. And so you're afraid to ask a question that can answer a no. So understand what your comfort level is. Understand where you can push to the point where it's too far. And really, it's about this is really good for anybody, but in startups, there's a lot of challenges you're going to face. So knowing who you are and what your comfort level is really important. What's going to make you go hide on the couch? What's going to make you get up in the morning and get off that couch? So understand that. And that's not just motivating, but it's also, ooh, I've gotten too far. I may start panicking here. I probably need to back up a little bit. And that, kind of along the same lines, is really understanding what those fears are. So I kind of made a little list here. Ask yourself these questions. What makes you anxious? You can just be about your dating life as well. It may be helpful. But from a business standpoint, what makes you anxious? What keeps you up at night? When you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning because the dog was barking, what do you start thinking about from a business standpoint? And what makes you hesitate? Because it's really bad to hesitate in business, right? You've got to seize the opportunity that's in front of you. And if you hesitate, you're going to lose that opportunity. So understand what keeps you from moving forward. What makes you hesitate? And then, the fonts aren't working on here. I apologize for that. I spent a lot of time fitting inside that bubble. What keeps me from making a decision? So this is something I see a lot in startups that I'm doing due diligence on, or that maybe I've even invested in. We've invested in about 10 startups. And one of the things that I don't pick up until it's too late is that management has a hard time making decisions. They hesitate. They have a hard time making decisions. Now, these may not be your fears, but these are good questions to start with, right? These are things that you should maybe ask yourself to understand what scares you and how that can motivate you. So I thought, all right, I'm in front of everybody. I'm going to list mine. So And my HR manager will tell you this in a second. I hate conflict. I hate, especially personal conflict. I will avoid making someone uncomfortable, one of my employees or one of my customers uncomfortable. You know, it's bad. It's really bad. So that's been a fear that I've tried to address and deal with and really understand. And I've made bad business decisions because of my fear of conflict. This kind of goes back to Tally to some extent, but I fear rejection, right? I fear that I'm going to ask and they're going to say no. So I have to kind of push myself. I recognize that. I know that's a problem. So I'm like putting off calling this customer, right? I got to call this customer and say, where's my PO? It's a $500,000 job. I got 4 engineers lined up. I got lab equipment waiting. I don't have a PO. And I'm so afraid that he's going to go, we decided not to go with you, that I don't pick up the phone. So I've got to really push myself and not fear that rejection. I also have a problem with letting other people down. Like, oh, I tried really hard, I'm sorry, but like Cores on Demand, right? The IT guy that we hired to run that, I brought him here, moved him to Arizona to run that for us, and I let him down. It didn't work, right? He's fine. He's happy doing what he's doing right now. He's doing other IT stuff for us, but I really struggled killing Cores on Demand. I should have killed it 6 months earlier than I did because I was afraid of letting Ahmed down. This was his baby, and I had to go tell him, your baby's dead. I'm sorry. Maybe that's a little graphic, but Ahmed was fine. He's like, why didn't you tell me this earlier? I want to do something else. This is boring. It's not working. Why didn't we move on earlier? But I really have a problem with that. So that's a good example of where it's really hurting me in a business standpoint. And the last one, which doesn't show up because of the font, I have a fear of bad fonts, is exposing what makes me afraid. So I just listed them. So I'm dealing with it, right? I'm letting you guys know. So thank you for joining my therapy session. I hope you all have Blue Cross Blue Shield for my deductible. So let's see. There it goes. Oh, went too far. So this is a really important one, and this goes not only to how you run your business, but I think even more from a product or service standpoint, which is set your goals. So you get to that point where you set a goal where you feel comfortable, right? You're not feeling fear, and then go one step further. And I'll give you an example of this. Is for one of my business divisions, we do product design for folks. And we were setting our 3, 5, 10-year goals for that group. And being an engineer, I sat down and back calculated with the number of people we have, past history. These are the goals that growth goals we can make. And they look good, and I was happy. And my sales guy goes, Eric, these goals suck. I'm like, oh, thank you, John, for being so honest. Why do they suck? He says, well, if those are our goals, that's what we're going to get. We should go one step further. And he was right. I wasn't comfortable. I'm not comfortable where we are. It's going to be hard to make the goals that we set for ourselves. But I went that one step further. And you know what? It's only February, but we're already on track to make those higher goals. We're pushing ourselves harder. We put ourselves out of our comfort zone. To make those goals, we have to make more phone calls. We have to be more aggressive with customers. We have to present ourselves better. And that's how we're going to make those goals. So it really is a way to do things. And think about it from your product, right? You've got a list of features for your product. Those are probably good, but are they good enough? Are you comfortable with those goals? Maybe you should push a little bit further. Maybe you should go one step further and make it just a little bit better, especially if you're in a competitive situation. And I don't know if you guys can read that, but keep trying till you hear no. And a couple people have talked about sales, and the guy that was in here before actually said this, and I'm sure you'll hear it over and over again, is you have to keep asking the questions over and over again. You know, will you do business with me? Will you buy my product? Will you use my service? Will you work for me? Will you move to a new location to run my new office in Botswana? You have to keep asking those questions until you hear no. And that's a really, really good thing to do. And when you do hear no, what do? You ask in a different way. So no once is not a good enough answer. If you're comfortable with hearing no, ask in a different way. Keep asking until I always say this is a little bit different with sales than it is in interpersonal stuff in the office, but with a salesperson, they should piss off one customer every 6 months by just going that extra mile to where somebody just was annoyed by them, right? But that's the only salespeople. Other people, you should be a little bit nicer, but definitely go until you say no. Even push yourself, and then ask a different way at least one more time. And the other thing, the last bit of advice before we close it all up is to exercise your fear. So you can't have a presentation that's trendy without a guy jumping out of an airplane, so I had to put that in there. But I also picked it because he's got a parachute on, right? He's not jumping off a cliff without a parachute. He's got a parachute on. He's probably got a backup parachute. So again, we're taking calculated risks. We're understanding what we're doing. But you're gonna get comfortable with your fear. You're gonna get comfortable with, I have these issues. I know these issues. I'm good with them. And you don't really push yourself. You're not gonna grow as a person. You're not gonna grow as a business. So you really got to exercise your fears. We've been in business for 24 years. And every year we try to find 4 new business lines that we can look at. Now, we only usually do 1 of them. Sometimes we do 3, and that's usually a bad idea. It's too many at one time. But we always try to look at a new revenue stream, a way to push ourselves out of our comfort zone to grow our business. And do it where there's no consequences. This kind of goes back to like my example of the course on demand, right? I lost $500,000 on that over 3 years. But my company didn't go bankrupt because of that, right? Don't bet the farm. Don't jump without a parachute. Push yourself. And this also goes back to analogy of exercising, which is the other option to talk about here. So when you're gonna like run a marathon, right? You don't just go out and run a marathon, right? You slowly work your way up to it. You push yourself. Every week you go a little bit further. Every week you go a little bit faster. And that's kind of the exercise, right? So think of pushing yourself in a business standpoint is the same as becoming a better weightlifter, right? You're going to go up in what, you're not going to start at 500-pound bench press, right? You're going to start at 50, maybe. And then you're going to work your way up over time in an environment with a spotter so you don't hurt yourself. And then you're ready for the big leagues, you're ready for the competition. So always exercise where there's no consequences. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude. We should have some time for questions and comments. I want to do a little bit of a summary and then give a little bit of advice. So the first thing I want to point out is I talked about pushing yourself till you're afraid. And I know nobody's going to do this, but that doesn't mean you can just go out and say, okay, I want to push myself till I'm scared and I'm going to be a huge success. No, you've got to have a good product, the right people, and complete and outstanding execution. You know, startups are good because of these things. This whole idea of pushing yourself to the limit just helps you get there faster and execute better. So do push yourself to be afraid. You know, get off that couch. And it's not just you, it's your team, right? Are they comfortable? Are they sitting on the couch? You know, if you come in like on a Thursday and you get back from a meeting and it's 3:30 and everybody's gone, they're probably too comfortable. They don't feel enough anxiety about what they're doing. So definitely challenge yourself and your team. Don't be comfortable. Get off that couch. Get out there. Push yourself. But also be aware of where you are. You know, don't just randomly do scary things, right? You got to have some direction to what you're doing. Question yourself, your team, and your resources. So one thing we didn't talk about today at all is your vendor pool, right? You've got lawyers, you may have suppliers, you may have technology vendors that you're buying technology from. Are you pushing them to the point where they're a little scared, afraid, right? They're like, oh crap, we didn't really design this tool to do that. You're going to use it for what? You know, don't go too crazy, but push it. Push them. And so I talked about a lot of different things. I talked about my past, my poor dating history. I hope none of you know Nancy, because she'll kill me if she knows I used her as an example. And she'll kill me if I showed that picture, because I showed that picture. But, you know, we're talking about risky stuff. We're talking about walking away from that couch, getting in that race car, and pushing yourself till you're about to lose control, right? That's the analogies we're talking about. And it can be really scary. You're going to be lost in the dark woods sometimes. You're going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go, what the hell did I do? I haven't seen my kids in like 3 weeks, and I got to travel to Austin tomorrow, and I don't even know if it's worthwhile because this guy didn't even return my phone call to see if he confirmed the meeting, but he has the funding that I need to get to the next level, and you know, my CFO just took off. I don't know where he is, and there's all this fear and anxiety and everything like that, and you're like, why am I doing this? But do remember that the worst thing that can happen, you're running a business, is you're just going to have to go get a real job when it's done. So if you fail, go back to the cubicle and figure it out to the next time. So that actually is time for wine. So I want to thank you for your attention and everything. We're from PADT and we make innovation work. Oh, my contact information is there. The guy that can't work the, I probably went too far. Go. Anyway, my contact information is there. You can definitely visit us on the website. My LinkedIn, please do LinkedIn with me. I have a huge LinkedIn network. I want to add more people. And I have a weekly column in the Phoenix Business Journal, so please do read that where you see other silly things like this. So thank you very much for your time. Any questions? So we got 10 minutes for questions. Yes?
Are there any books or podcasts or anything you listen to over time that made a big impact on overcoming your fears?
A lot of therapy. But, you know, one of the best books, and you guys have probably all read it, I think everybody has, is the Steve Jobs biography by Isaacson. I think that he really, I mean, to me, Jobs was fearless, but he did push the people around him to that point of fear, right? I mean, one of the things when you read that book, you understand is that he never really came up with any great, awesome ideas, right? He just pushed everybody around him to work their butts off and do awesome things. And identify what's a really good and awesome idea. So that to me was very transformative. Understanding, even knowing people that worked at Apple in those days, it didn't really click in my head what he was really doing, and he really did. That whole organization was on the edge. All this, I met some folks from the early Apple Macintosh team, and it was a very small team, and they were terrified the entire time they were building that product that they were going to fail, they're going to be an embarrassment in the community, and they made a transformative product that changed everything, right? And I'm sure the same is true of the iPhone team. So I really recommend that book. There's a really good, I'm really bad with names, but there's a couple really good books about how the brain works with fear and understanding that from a biological standpoint, like how we evolved this mechanism. That, to me, the whole topic came up, actually, it was in a blog article, because I finished this book about how fear is a tool that we've evolved to survive, right? That if we didn't have it, we would, walk up to the lion and try and pet it, right? Back in the early days. So it is this tool, and if you understand it and wrap your head around it, you can use it as a very powerful thing. So there's a couple of really good books about the biology of the brain and how emotion works from a chemical standpoint. Anything else? Yeah.
Just a comment on that. There was a TED Talk a few months back about overcoming fear.
Oh, good.
Where they had speakers who talked about different techniques. One of them, regarding your thing with conflict, is someone who intentionally put himself in conflict and conflicted situations every day for 100 days.
Wow.
Just to overcome it. It's interesting.
I should probably do that. My HR manager is pushing me. She's like, you have to come to this meeting. I'm like, I don't want to go to this meeting. I don't want to tell this person they're doing poorly. But you need to address your fear of conflict. So that's a really good, really good. That's happening here. HR, I always tell her, that's why I have an HR manager. Anything else? Yeah.
You mentioned that when you developed the core demands, you wrote a business plan, and then you talk about how important is the execution for a startup. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the difference between executing on the building of product and executing as a business?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So what she's asking is the difference between executing as far as the product goes versus executing from a business. And that's the fatal flaw of Course on Demand, was we had an awesome product, right? So we went out and we gathered all the needs of the customers. We used our own technical experience trying to do this high-end computing in the cloud. We addressed all the concerns. We had a killer product. What we didn't address was the whole business aspect of it. We underfunded the marketing, and we did not research the logistics of actually paying for a software license and getting it on the machine. That's where it failed. So I think a lot of companies do that, and I think you have to be just conscious about it. You have to sit back and go, what's product and what's business? And if you're a large enough organization, you have two different groups that do that. But if you're a startup, it's probably you, or maybe you and your partner. So you really have to set aside and be really conscious about, is this product? And if you're a technical person like me, all I want to talk about is product. I mean, I was really proud of what we did with Course on Demand. But, I should have focused more on the business side of things. So that's a really good point. And it really comes down to defining, is this the thing that I'm going to be selling? Or is this the how I'm going to be selling it, right? And they're two very different things. They both have to be done correctly, Well, you can sell crap, but not as well as you can sell a good product. But if you don't have the how, you're going to fail miserably. Anything else? Somebody else had a question? Yes?
In your 20 plus years in business, what are some of the key takeaways or things that you've learned that you wish you knew when you started?
Hire an HR manager early.
Repeat the question.
Oh, what are the things I've learned in my 20 plus years as a business owner that I could share? I joke about the HR thing, but it's really a bigger answer in that you can't do it all yourself. And I kind of have a problem with that as my marketing assistant. TechThink does all the marketing for us, and they're always trying to get me to let go of things so I can let them be the experts, which they are, and they do a fantastic job, and it always goes better when they do. But I still struggle with that. You have to accept that you can't do everything, even if it's fun. You got to let the experts do it. And that's HR, that's marketing, that's maybe even engineering, right? I love writing code for simulation, and I had to let Matt, one of our employees, kind of take all that over a couple of years ago because I just couldn't do it anymore. That was really hard for me. But you do it. I think the other thing is, what I always tell people is it always takes longer and more money than you think. And every single time, and we've been doing this for a long time, and we're better at it, we're closer, but it always takes longer and it always takes more money. And you need to plan for that. Anything else? We got 4 more minutes. Huh?
I just want to say that last thing you said is so true.
Is it?
Always
Yeah.
takes longer and more time.
Yeah, it really, really does. Okay. Well, thank you.
Your open house?
Oh yeah, I've plugged my open house. Thank you. I need to do better at marketing. So we have an open house on Thursday. If you guys want to learn more about PADT, come on down. It's at 6 o'clock. There at the ASU Research Park. If you go to our website, you can see it advertised there. And we're going to show all sorts of cool 3D printers and simulation software and design and test and all the things we do to help people make their products better. So the last thing I want to say to you is go out there, push yourself to the level of fear, and go ahead and excel by really pushing past that boundary.
Big thanks to Eric. Our next presentation in here will be at 5 after the hour.